Good morning. I'm Steve Lentini. I'm your host for Different Thinking for Different Times. And this episode is No BS Spiritual Mastery for Men. And over the years, having studied many of the different faiths in the world and then having a near-death experience on November 18th, 2002, 5 days after needing an ambulance and immediately going to intensive care upon arrival in the hospital, I've learned a lot, especially the near-death experience, right? It actually was a death experience. I was here 1 second and with God the next, with the infinite, one with everything and nothing. And so what I realized is some amazing things I learned was you don't need a religion, a faith, yes. And is religion good? Sure, it is nice to have the community and the gathering, and it's not what's required. That what God gave us was this amazing life to enjoy and to be grateful and to be present in every moment, because we know not when the moment will come where we'll go to what's next. Now, what's next is amazing too. It's just not physical. It's consciousness, pure consciousness, as Deepak Chopra called it. And so we welcome my dogs here. Here's Albie and Grace is over there. So in coaching a lot of people over the year, I've coached many men. Albie's getting under my desk. I've coached many men who have a faith, right? And they have a religion. Because I ask if they have a higher power. If so, tell me about it so I understand where they're coming from. And I never make anyone wrong for being in a religion or having a religion. And I'll come back to why I think there's a delineation between being overzealous about one's religion, right? Wanting everyone to agree with you, and you believing you're the only way to back to God or the creator or the infinite or the quantum field, whatever you call it. Because think about it, a creator that created something infinite that we don't understand would only have one way, right? For us to return to it, that would be the only way. And the rest would be cast into damnation forever. And so when it comes to leaders and religion, what I find is most people separate their faith until they get to their house of worship. And then the rest of the week, it's more challenging to carry it with them in the work that they do. And the fact is, what I learned is that God is never absent. The infinite is all there is. And that's where the now is. Because when I was on the other side, Albie, come, lay down. When I was on the other side, there was no past or future. There's only the now. And of course, that's where I learned that God is never absent, or the creative life force, the Buddha, the Brahma, the Abraham, the Muhammad, the Christ consciousness, whatever you call it, because it doesn't matter. It has no name, which Lao Tzu wrote about in 150 BC or 300 BC. I have it in my book, Sage Advice. In fact, I want to get that. If you'll bear with me here for a moment, I want to get my book, Sage Advice, because there's something in there that I want to read. I want to read The God of Spinoza. Hold on 1 second, right? Go, gadget. Let's see. Sage Advice. Hi, Grace. Okay, here's my book, Sage Advice. Just looking for Spinoza. 49. Probably got a tag on it. This is in the 1600s. Here, I'll tell you when Baruch Spinoza lived. He lived from 1632 to 1677. And here's where some of the things that Spinoza said about God. Whatever is in God, and nothing can exist or be conceived without God. Whoever so loves God cannot strive that God should love him in return, because that's automatic, right? We're part of this amazing creation called a miracle, and then we get so filled with our hubris, our ego, we think like God, and we don't, right? That's where, when you read all the holy books, when it becomes small-minded, hold on. Go ahead, Gracie. When it becomes small-minded, that's us. That's our thinking. That's egoic. Hello, Gracious. You're back? Okay, lay down. Go lay down, good girl. So the hubris that we have, we believe our thinking, right? And that's where I came up with the acorn brain. That was another gift that I got on that day that I was doing a seminar. I was fine one second. The next second, I needed an ambulance. And, it's interesting. I was grateful, and an overwhelming sense of gratitude and divine presence overcame me. People were asking me, Steve, how you doing? As we were waiting for the ambulance. And I said, I don't know how my body's doing. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Of course, that stunned most people. Let me continue about Baruch Spinoza, who later changed his name to Benedict Spinoza because of what he wrote. And here's how he started. And by the way, Einstein would answer when people asked him, what forms your idea of God? And he would answer two ways. One is the superior reasoning power that formed this unimaginable universe is my idea of God. And then he would answer people the other way. He'd say this other way. He would say, read the God of Spinoza. So let me share with you about that. Stop praying and giving yourselves blows in your chest. What I want you to do is go out into the world and enjoy your life. Stop going to those gloomy, dark, and cold temples that you built for yourself that you call my home. My house is in the mountains, in the forests, in the rivers, the lakes, the beaches. That's where I live and express all my love for you. Stop blaming me for your miserable life. I love that. I never told you that you were a sinner. Stop being so scared. I do not judge you nor criticize you, nor am I ever angry with you. Nothing bothers me, nor do I devise punishment. I am pure love. I experienced that. 1 second in intensive care, the next second one with everything and nothing. Love, all love. He goes on to write, if I made you, I filled you with passions, limitations, pleasures, feelings, needs, inconsistencies of free will. How can I blame you if you do or say something out of that which I put in you? How can I punish you for being as you are if I'm the one who made you? Do you think I could create a place to burn all my children who misbehave for the rest of eternity? What kind of God can do that? Forget about any kind of commandments, any kind of laws. Those are wiles to manipulate you, to control you, and only to create guilt in you. Respect your peers and don't do to others what you don't want for yourself. The only thing I ask is that you pay attention in your life and that your alert status is your guide. This life is the only thing there is, here and now, and the only thing you need. And see, that's where it's inferred that here and now is forever, the here and now. Because when I left my body, it was 1 second in my body. It was even less than a second, probably. The next, I'm with God, right? So that's where I say call death what's next, because we go from here to there. He went on to write, I have made you absolutely free. There are no prizes or punishments. There are no sins or virtues. No one carries a marker. No one carries a record. You are absolutely free to create your life, to create in your life a heaven or a hell. See, we're doing that. There's lots of examples of that, especially in today's society, right, where people are making each other wrong. It's one side or the other. I'm right, no, I'm right. There's an elitist view of either side, right? When one side or another, especially what we have going on in this country, in America, we have two political parties, and we have some small other political parties. I mean, the independents are not really a party because they're not part of the debate, right? The debate is mostly either Democrat or Republican. And the fact is, both sides come from this idea that they're right, making the other side wrong. And that's all they do. That's all they do is wanting to be right. And what happens is that's not productive for a human life, but God had nothing to do with that. That's our choice. That's our hubris. Our goal is to become more like God, the creator of an infinite universe. And if it sounds small-minded, it doesn't come from the creator. That's coming from us. I couldn't tell you if there's anything after this life, but I can give you a tip. Live as if there isn't, as if this was your only chance to enjoy, to love, to exist. That's Baruch Spinoza saying, just live fully here now. And I can tell you from my experience, there is a what's next. Absolutely fascinating and amazing, beyond words, no comprehension, immense light, mercy, grace, love, but very different than what we think because there's only the now. So you're always immersed in what created this existence. So if there is nothing, then you will have enjoyed the opportunity I gave you. And if there is, be sure that I will not ask you if you behaved well or not. I will ask you, did you like it? Did you have fun? What did you enjoy the most? What did you learn? There's more. If you want to buy my book, Sage Advice, it's on Amazon, or you can Google. I have all kinds of things marked, as you can see, because I want to use it for reference. Didn't work so well today. I have to mark page 49 a lot better for God of Spinoza. So anyway, I can tell you that from my experience, there were no markers. In fact, in my life review, only the good I had done flashed before me. And it was an expression of that joy that Baruch Spinoza talks about. What flashed before me was how much I enjoyed so many moments of this life and helping others and giving to others. That's what brought joy. But no mention of the people I heard or things I had done that at the time I thought were good ideas. Seemed like a good idea at the time, and I can laugh at it today. So this work is for people who, while they have a faith or they're agnostic, they don't have a tradition or a religion. And that's what I want to talk about, that God is all in all, and that we can bring that everywhere, especially into leadership. Don't leave God at home, because that's you leaving God. That's not God or the divine or the universe or the quantum field leaving you. And that takes a much broader thinking. Instead of small-minded thinking, that takes infinite thinking, limitless thinking, always responding in life, being in the now, not living as a reaction. If this brain suggests an automatic thought that leads to an automatic reaction, 95% of the time, those are egoic. They're not healthy. It's to develop a level of thinking above your thinking, become the observer of your life, as if you're watching through God's eyes, so that whatever shows up, you want to be with it. You know, as Christ said in Psalm 8, verse 28, that everything works together for good for those who believeth in God. Muhammad said, whatever reaches you, what reaches you was never meant to miss you. What reaches you was never meant to miss you. What misses you was never meant to reach you. So that's talking about what reaches you was never meant to miss you is being in the moment, being in the present, that many things will bother you as a leader. And they're there for you, that's God in the moment, or life. You can call it life. That's life being for you. It's not happening to you, as many believe. And then instead of reacting to a board member or an employee or an officer that's on your executive team, you would just, or maybe you're the officer on someone else's executive team, you would just say, okay, this really bothers me. You could say it out loud. This really bothers me. I need to work on this. Thank you. And then you could also just, as the observer, notice that this moment you're particularly bothered. That means it's there to teach you something or show you that you have it somewhere, what you don't know that you don't know. So this work is about immense personal growth, and you have to prove it to yourself. And I hope there are many of you that will come and share your experiences after working on these ideas to prove it to yourselves, to make your life an experiment. There isn't such a thing as happy or sad or good or bad. There's only how we observe life. It's like the Sufi tale. When the stallion showed up at this farmer's corral in a small village, the villagers came and said, wow, that's so great. It's so good. This wild stallion came. He said, I don't know, maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? And then when the stallion, there's variations of the story, was stolen or ran away, of course, the villagers came, the townspeople came and said, oh, that's bad. You lost your stallion or someone stole your stallion. And he said, I don't know, maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? And then when the stallion returned with a whole herd of wild mares, of course, you know what the villagers said, wow, this is so good. He said, I don't know, maybe good, maybe bad. Anyway, you can Google the Sufi tale, but it's about being in that middle of nothing from the outside will make you happy. You're just going to live happy no matter what. But that means you don't judge anything as good or bad, happy or sad. You're just with it in the moment. It's like you're on the river of floating down the raft and observing everything that comes your way with equanimity so that there's no judgment. It's just, here's what's here now. Oh, here's what's here now. Here's what's here now, and being fully with it. And especially if it bothers you and it challenges you, those are the greatest moments to pay attention to. There's the greatest gifts, because the ones that don't bother us, they're easy to accept. They're easy to be with. The ones that do bother us, the moments that challenge us, the people that bother us, they're the greatest teachers. And so whether you want to join my No BS Mastery for Men or not, it's up to you, right? And how you can join is, I'll show you how to spell my name. Email me, steve@stevelentini.com, steve@stevelentini.com. And I'll be glad to send you the link for the No BS Spiritual Mastery for Men. Consider it. Is this something that, top producer, high achiever, or maybe you're on what others might judge as the bottom rung of life? And see, there are no rungs in God's world. I can tell you, there was no hierarchy. I was like a drop of water in the ocean. I was a drop in the infinite. And you take nothing with you. Nothing from here was there. There was no mention of the work I had done, the books I've written. There's none of that. The homes I've owned, the other things there was no mention of, wow, you've traveled all over the world, or none of that. None of what this little brain right here's the acorn brain. That's my trademark. None of what this little brain, this little voice in my head would say, that's great. Look at you. You won't go with all the letters after your name, and you won't go if your mind is carrying shame. None of that goes. We're just part of the infinite. We're part of the creative life force. And we go from this to that. It's just another now. So if you want to learn how to carry that with you, or if you want to share stories about how you've learned the same thing, come and join us on the No BS Spiritual Mastery for Men. It'll be a separate link from Different Thinking for Different Times, but I wanted to announce it and roll it out on Different Thinking for Different Times. I think it's important. Let me put the headphones back on. I think it's important. I think it's important because you'll be a much larger contribution to this existence. And what it matters is only to you, to your world. You'll have an amazing sense of God's presence by appreciating everything that shows up, especially the ones that bother you. And the ones that don't, the ones that you are easily able to appreciate, will bring you even more sense of God, because you'll be able to pick up on the God winks. I took 2 Ubers yesterday and one the day before to the garage to get I have a 1952 Ford pickup truck. Anyway, so it needed some work. And each driver, 3 different drivers, were all about God. They had amazing ideas that were similar to what we're talking about here. They were bringing God everywhere. And it was fascinating that was like a God wink for me to continue doing this work, to make sure that I separate this mastery for men. And all the drivers were men. And you'll notice more synchronicities as you get on the journey of realizing you've separated yourself from God or the divine or the quantum field, as I said, right? Or the Buddha, the Brahma, the Abraham, the Muhammad, the Christ, the goddess. The only separation from that creative life force, from God, is here. There's billions of life forms, from the things we can't see, microscopic, that we need amazing microscopes to see, to the things so big we can't see them. That's Lisa Randall's work, which are taking telescopes to see. And imagine there's things even bigger than that. There has to be, because there's things so tiny that we're finding with super colliders, particles that appear and disappear. The Higgs boson particle, what's called the God element, which is the organizing principle. There's a particle that organizes the manifestation of all the physical things in this world. And there's atomic particles, subatomic particles. There's dark matter. I mean, there's so many things that we're discovering. I hope that's more proof that there's something so large that created this, we have no idea, that we haven't even developed the scope to find God. Ponder it. That when you can get into the space that this is all God, including and especially the darkest times, the challenging times, and the people that bother us the most, all of those events are there as life happening for us, as God happening for us. And for me, they were there to wake me up. And then it took the 2x4 on November 13th, 2002. Literally 1 second fine, conducting the training class. The next second needed an ambulance. And I want to save people that 2x4 and share the experience so that people can investigate on their own that God is everywhere, especially if you're going through a challenging and dark time, especially if you're a leader who feels like you're soulless or you're lost or God has left you. I've had those thoughts over the years. It was me that was asleep because I was not appreciating the challenges or the people that were bothering me or came to help me learn and grow, because they were my best teachers as I think about them now. They were my greatest teachers. The greatest moment of my life, except for the birth of my children, the births of my children and grandchildren and all the people around me, was that moment on November 18th, 5 days later after being in intensive care, right? Since the 13th of November, on the 18th November 2002, that was the greatest gift of my life. I think about it every day, multiple times a day, especially when this little brain that I call the little fucker, I suggest you name it. You can use my name. That voice tries to enroll me many times during a day that this is something, oh, we don't like this. And I remind myself, no, wait, what reaches me was never meant to miss me. And so I'm with it. I bring my attention back to it. Because we're human. We're going to have plenty of those moments. Like I said, daily I have them. And then if that little fucker in my head is suggesting, hey, you haven't gotten the new book done yet, or you haven't gotten another idea lately, or you haven't had this or that, I remember too what Muhammad said. What misses you was never meant to reach you. That reminds me never to lament anything. And it could be what misses you was never meant to reach you. For now, I can think that too, because, hey, it's coming. Or if not, that's okay too, because it wasn't meant to be. It's not mine. See, and in this world, we either always want more, or we have all kinds of regrets, or we find all kinds of reasons to linger in sadness and darkness like a black hole, right? Think about it. The black holes represent us when we're negative and depressed and sad, because we suck in everything around us. You don't have to look far for evidence of how to live a life and proof of how powerful our thinking is, because it's reflected all around us, right? The black holes that physicists are still trying to figure out, they suck everything in around them. That's us. When we're sad, depressed, negative, angry, frustrated, anxious, we're just at that moment, a ball of negative energy. And this whole existence is energy. So that's another thing that we'll talk about, is managing our energy that we put out in the world. Because as we manage it and put out positive energy, helping others, maybe silently bless them when you meet their eyes, or pass them in the street a smile. In the Vedic tradition, namaste, they say silently when they meet people, to remember that this is all spirit, all God, all the goddess, all the quantum field, that there's never a separation. And the more we do it, it's fascinating how our lives open up with ease. We're the ones that create struggle. As Baruch Spinoza said, we can make this our own heaven or hell. So it's up to you. Again, if you want to be part of this new No BS Spiritual Mastery for Men, Steve at stevelentini.com. Email me, Steve at stevelentini.com. I'm grateful. I'm glad to help. It's what I do. I look forward to meeting you all. Thank you.